It's January 9th, which means it's finally the new year. Last week didn't count. We talked about that already. It's not a real thing. And you know why? Because the Raptors finally got their first win of the new year last night. And we also have Jelani Goodridge-Reid.
Welcome back, Jelani.
Studio with us.
What's going on?
Justin has been foaming at the mouth to get you back here.
I can't
He has
handle it.
not been able to be himself, right, Justin? He's got the J unit back.
He's always himself. But I'm back, you know,
The
to
two
provide some peace.
ends of one
He,
bunch
some knowledge.
are
He
back
got a
together.
10-day contract with the Knicks, but never played.
I know. Like they did me wrong, but whatever.
Well, guys,
I'm a Raptor.
like I said, the two ends of a butt cheek are back together.
Wow.
And we're going to start off
What?
today's show with the Raptors finally getting their first win of the season last night. Then you will look ahead also at Fred VanVleet and his contract extension and all the rumors surrounding it right now. And finally, let's talk about the Raptors and let's do a heat check to see whether or not we think this team can actually make the playoffs or something's about to be salvaged with this season. But first, guys, the Raptors got their first win of the season not season, I felt like the season. Yeah. The first win of the new year last night against the Blazers. We had pretty big contributions from the bench. How crazy is that? If you play the bench and they play well, you win the game. Yeah. And your stars don't have to play 45 minutes every single night. What a crazy concept. I had no idea about that. But they finally got the win last night thanks to the bench. We had big performances from Fred VanVleet, who was in his element in the catch and shoot role. And the Raptors came out on top, but I have to ask you guys, this is the pressing question. I want the belief that I'm happy with this win, but do you think we should be happy against a win with the Blazers? Because I do have to say, the Raptors the bench came through, right, with 21 points. Blazers bench only had 3 points. And the Blazers bench is one of the worst in the league because they haven't even passed the 1,000-point milestone yet in the season. So are we happy about this or are we kind of like...
Take it away.
I mean,
your first day back. Take it away.
So I'm back and I'm going to say good win. Finally, you guys, played well. But I think this, if you ask me, I'm not really impressed. It doesn't really move me just because of what you said. The bench for the Blazers didn't show up. 3 points, really? That's disgusting, really. And so obviously you should win if that's the case, right? Okay, we know what Damian Lillard did. Obviously, that was expected. We understand that Anthony Simons, he was expected to do well as well. So other than that, I'll say, yes, you did shut down some other guys. Nurkic did kind of bother us in the inside with what he did in terms of his boards. But I am impressed with how, a guy like Scotty Barnes, he stepped up, gave us 20 plus, which we want, right? That's what we need. Will I say that this is going to start a winning streak? No, because if you look,
it might.
You never know.
Charlotte back to
you never
back.
know. But after Charlotte, you're playing 7 teams that are currently in the top 8, in their respective conferences. So, yes, this is a good, feel good win. This is a feel good win. You're at home. Okay, you got it done. And this was after we saw, that stretch to end 2022 with multiple losses. So yes, I'll say, yeah, it's a good win. However, it doesn't really move me as much. That's it.
I'm kind of with Jelani too on that. I think whatever, like they won. Good job. Like they're gonna win a game eventually this year. Like they weren't gonna lose every game. But it was good to see Pascal Siakam have a all-star level performance. They need that from him if they want to, kind of get back into this playoff race. Whatever is left of, they have a chance of making the playoffs, right? Also, you mentioned Scotty Barnes being aggressive, 20 plus points. Fred VanVleet actually shot somewhat efficiently.
Better than he has.
Better than he has, right? So it was a good win by the Raptors. Again, like Noor mentioned, Blazers bench was nowhere to be found. And Dame time almost took place in Toronto,
I know.
which I was hoping and praying for, but it didn't. So good win by the Raptors. Let's see what happens when they play Charlotte on the next 2 games. But like you mentioned, the schedule gets harder and harder. So again, this team is what it is. We've seen enough to know what they are. Yeah. I don't think it doesn't push them.
Actually, they happen to have the second easiest schedule moving on from this point because they end up playing, they have 45 games remaining. I mean, sorry, maybe less than that now, but 21 of those are against teams that are under 500.
Better win those.
That's the thing. The thing is with the Raptors, they're kind of like the Robin Hood of the NBA, right? They don't really contribute against bad teams, but they really put it against big teams. But for me, I think this team is too good for this record. That's my problem with them, because I think you see little inklings and little gels and moments there where you're like, wow, this is the team that I know, because you see that at the end of the fourth quarter, especially I think with this one, we saw that the first quarter, which you never really get to see and nowadays, but to see that level of intensity paired with the offense made me think there's that team in there. Like, this is not, they don't reflect what their record looks like. And that's why I'm just like, if they can get some consistency, if the injuries factor stop to die down, if the bench starts to contribute more, that falls on both the bench and Nick Nurse. I think Nick Nurse has to figure out how he's going to use the bench, because you just can't run your stars in the ground. Like, that's why you're getting injured constantly. And you've seen that the bench can produce, even if it's against the Blazers, whatever. It's momentum, right? They need those reps and those development things. But yeah, one guy that came through last night for me was Fred VanVleet, because I think in the first half he was very passive. He had 6 assists, but towards the very end we saw him in more of a catch and shoot role again, because it was Pascal passed it out, he got the 3. Right after that, Scotty passed it out, he got the 3. So I've always been like, I need Freddie in the catch and shoot role. Like, I think he's so dangerous from the 3-point line.
He's been nice over his career. If you look at his catch and shoot stats,
he's so good. And you know,
minus this year.
He talked about how his usage rate fell down this season compared to last season. There is a little bit of that discrepancy there for sure. He's not wrong about that. But one of the big things that I saw that fell was his catch and shoot. Last year he was averaging way more on that, but this year he's definitely died down. Obviously has to do with the fact that Scotty hasn't been in the lineup, so he has to have the ball a lot more in that way. But I think when everybody else is healthy, I want to see Freddie in that position more. I want to see him get the open shot and take that 3. And it's important for him because he has the contract extension coming up. Talked about that last time as well. But it's right now it's got to a point where Josh Lundberg came out and said that Freddie had received an offer from the office, and he said, I believe he said no.
They mutually decide.
We'll talk about this.
And then Freddie came out actually last night to clear the air, and he's like, no contract extension came up. We just mutually decided that let's wait until everything happens. And he said that I have a player option in my contract this summer, and we will revisit that at the end of the season. I know there's a lot of talk about Fred VanVleet being moved and about what his price would look like on the market. But do you guys think he will still be a Raptor next year?
I don't think so. I don't think Fred VanVleet's going to be a Toronto Raptor. I don't think Gary Trent's going to be a Toronto Raptor. I think, and you guys, the last couple weeks I've been saying, I think it's time for this team to just strip it down and rebuild, right? As much as I think they could get a haul for OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam, they're not going to trade those two. Those are Masai's guys. Those are Masai's boys. Like, he will not trade them. They're obviously not going to trade Scotty Barnes, right? So, and there's only been so many reports that Gary Trent is widely available. The Raptors are shopping him. I think a team like the New Orleans Pelicans, a team like maybe the Dallas Mavericks, a team that needs a guy who could shoot and create his own shot and get instant offense might be interested in Fred VanVleet, right? And I think the Raptors can set themselves up very well for the future, right? Because are they going to want to invest whatever it was, $140+ million, right?
That's a big question.
For Fred VanVleet. It was, 114. 114. Are they going to want to invest almost $120 million to Fred VanVleet? Are they? So I think they should trade him, not because of anything, not because he's been playing better, just going to help the long-term health of this franchise if they move off him and get assets and, reshake things up. But we'll see.
Honey?
I don't know. It's looking like it's possible, but for now, I'll say no. I think that the Raptors want to keep him. I really do. I really think that Masai and Bobby and Nick as well, I think they want to keep him in this roster, and they want to see. I just find that they want to try it with him, with Pascal, and try to move forward with those two as the cornerstones, right? And try to do something, not like a Kyle DeMar, but have two guys moving forward. We've seen, they've won a championship, so I'll give them that. But I'll give a lot of respect to Fred. I think a lot of fans right now are bashing him too much. They've
He's
been
an easy scapegoat.
Yeah, they've been talking down on him a lot. I really like Fred VanVleet. From where he's come from. Undrafted, Wichita State. He found his way through the roster, and then he helped us, be a contributor, a solid contributor on a championship team, all-star. So we know the progression has been there. It's an off year, We understand that. He's had some off games this season. But I just find that the Raptors, they really find that it's him and his Pascal.
Yeah.
Right? And they want to build around that. And obviously Scotty Barnes as he continues to progress. What Justin said, though, I do find that there will be, like I said, it's possible, there will be plenty of suitors.
Teams that want him.
There'll be plenty of suitors. So if you're looking at some teams, okay, you did mention Dallas, right? That would be a team I'm looking at because they would want a veteran to come in the door and help with the guard play over there in Dallas. Okay, another team, maybe Washington as well, because they're just a team that, to me, they want a boost in some type of way.
I don't know about
so
Washington because they're kind of in the same spot as the Raptors. They're stuck.
Yeah, but they're just one of those teams that is desperate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So them, even Houston, San Antonio, that would need a veteran to come in the door. Lakers, I don't know, right? So there's some teams that are desperate all the time. We see it every single off season that want to bring a guy in the door. Maybe might overpay. So some of those teams that I mentioned might want to overpay for Fred. So it is possible, but I'm going to say no for now. I'm going to say no.
I agree with you. I think, like you said, I think Masai, Bobby, especially Nick Nurse, really relies so much on Fred VanVleet. Not just his on-court production, but I think in the locker room, how he speaks to media. I think it's such a big
He's
the culture.
He's
Right?
a leader.
He was supposed to get the keys after Kyle Lowry left, and I think that's exactly how they view him. So I think right now, whatever is going through he's definitely not having the best season. His numbers are down. It makes sense. There's a little bit of that accountability factor there too. So you're kind of just like, we want to see more come through him. But at the same time, again, he's better than what his numbers are putting up. It's not just him that's failing. It's the whole Raptors as a whole. So it's not falling on just Freddie. So I think as long as you get that gelling together, the injury was such a big factor to Freddie too. He's still working off of that. True. I think that trust factor in him should still be there. It doesn't mean that you're not going to move one of your other guards. Like I think Gary, as much as I think he's such a great, like right now too, he's having such a great season consecutively, getting those shots up. But if you're gonna move some guy, it's gonna be Gary in my eyes.
Yeah, I don't think Gary's gonna.
And he's a free agent too. And
you don't want to
think
let him walk for free if that's the case. Like, what if somebody else offers him something? And I can see suitors lining up for Gary too. A lot of fan bases, when you post something about Gary, are like, "Come on, Lakers, let's do it." Like, "Come on, Miami, let's do it." Clutch client. I mean, that's true too. Okay, well, before we leave it off, really quickly, right now the Raptors are 12th in the East. They're 17-23, same record as the Wizards. 1.5 games back from the 10th seed. Like I said, I know. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, they have the second easiest schedule remaining in the league right now. And they're healthy. They're getting their guys back together. And they look a little bit like that team that we know is peeking through. So do you think they have anything in them left to salvage this season and go in the playoff?
They have it in them. But if you look at the East, it's so much tougher than it's been before. This is not your same Eastern Conference, okay?
Right now, your older brother's Eastern Conference.
It's not. So if you're looking at the East right now, where you said we're with the Washingtons, we're with Atlanta. Atlanta's been disappointing to me, and with Chicago. That's where we sit right now. And then what if Orlando wants to wake up? They're right behind us right now. Okay, they're right behind us. We are. I know, like Paolo Banchero right there. Yeah. He's right there. Okay, when you're talking about we're like what 5 to 6 games back from avoiding the play-in. I don't see the Raptors finding a way in the top 6. I don't find. And look, if you're looking at that standings, right? If you're looking at the win-loss, they're not far from it, but I just don't expect them to get on a hot streak, right? So if you're asking me right now, the ceiling to me for the Raptors is probably a 9 seed. And that would be playing, right?
Yeah, it's playing.
I just, right now, it's just there's so much inconsistency with Toronto that you can't really say that they're going to make noise, just given the fact that there's so many other factors.
There's too many teams they have to overclass.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All right, well, I think I'll be the only one here saying that I believe. I believe they will.
I want to believe.
I believe they'll make the playoffs this year, even if that's through the play-in. I think. I don't know. I believe in them. I just
then we get Giannis or Tatum or KD
Okay,
KD got hurt,
guys, I know, but like, they're a good team. I know they're a good team. They have just been looking like a shell of themselves, but they're not their record. They can get better, and they have one of the easiest schedules remaining. So call me delusional. I don't care. I'm gonna hang my head on this, and if I'm wrong, I don't know, throw tomatoes at me next year. I don't care. We'll see what happens. But let's hope the Raptors get these back-to-back Hornets win this week, and we will see you next time on Homestand NBA with Jelani.